Hello and welcome back to the channel. This is Nicholas from Moralis, and this is episode number 12 of our tutorial series where we are cloning Rarible using Moralis. In the previous episode, we started to interact with our contract, and we also synced the items for sale, the item added event, and it populates the table items for sale in our database. In this episode, we will start to list these items on the front end. And we will build the functionality in this episode to do so. And if you've enjoyed the series so far, make sure to hit that like button and let's get going with this episode. We want to start with accessing the cloud functions. And in the cloud functions, we can do some nice stuff. Remember that these tables are getting synced automatically whenever events are being emitted. But the information in the events are somewhat limited. For example, here in the item added, we don't, for example, have the symbol. We don't have the token URI. So how can we list the metadata? Well, Moralis has this thing called triggers. So if we go to the documentation, we have a trigger here, and we have one that is called before save. So before a new item is being saved in this table, for example, we can modify it and we can add new things and add new columns. And this is exactly what we are going to do now. So let's check the documentation here. And to trigger this, you have to do moralis.cloud.beforesave, and then you give the name of the table that you want to access before an item is being saved to that table. And let's do that. So we can copy the old function that we have here, and we can use that as a template. So we can remove everything up to the results here. And then we replace the define here with the before save, just as in the description. And we want to trigger the before save on the items for sale table. So items for sale. Okay, so whenever a new item is being saved, this function will be triggered, and we will get the item that is being saved inside the request here. And we can access it by doing request.object. So that's the object that is being added to this table. All right, and we want to add some things to this row. So, for example, we want to access some things from the ETH token balance. So we can check so that the row that we want to access, we want to check the token underline address and check so that matches the request dot object dot get. So this is how you get one of the attributes or values from this object that is being saved. So in this case, we want to get the token address, and we chose to spell it this way in our marketplace here. So this is token address, asking price. This is how we spelled it, token ID. And so we have to use the same one here. So we compare the token address of the ETH token balance table to the token address of this incoming object. And we want to do the same for the ID, token ID, and we do the token ID like this. And if these two match, then there is only one possible. If the token is contained in the ETH token balance table, then there will only be one result because there is only one of each ID for a given address. So very good. We have everything we want. So let's take this and let's do the first result, and we can store this in let's call it object or something. And let's just, for safety, check so that we did get an object back. So object like this. And inside here, we can get the owner of this token. So we can store that in const owner equals object dot attributes dot owner of. And then we can define another query to query a user. So we can copy the two first lines here, and we can call this query, we can call it user query. User query. And we want to query the user table. And the user table is a bit special in Moralis because it requires some extra privileges. And to query the user table, we use moralis.user. Moralis.user with a big U. This is how you query the user table, this table. And so now we have the table, and we want to check so that the accounts, this is an array, and if you want to match any of the accounts listed in this array matches what you put now here, which is the owner. So the owner of the token, we want to check who's the user. So this should also only get one result back. And remember, I said that the user table requires some special privileges. And to query this, we need to use the master key. Sounds fancy. So we do use master key and set that to true. So if you don't use this, you will get no results back because you're not allowed to read things except your own user from this table if you're not using this one. And the owner could be whoever in the table. So we do this, and we call this we can call this user object in lack of a better name, and we check if we got a user object back. Then we can inject a new column, if it doesn't already exist, into this items for sale table. So let's do, instead of request object get, we do request object set. So we set, for example, the user to be this user object. Very good. And then we do the same for the token. So the token is the row that we got back from the ETH token balance. So we can map this. So whenever a new item is being saved, we get who is the user and what token is it. And then we link the two, and you'll see in a second how this is being populated in the items for sale. Let's do it the same one for the sold items, the other table that we sync from the item sold event. So sold items, and we can keep most of these things, but instead of the ETH token balance, we want to query the items for sale table, and we want to make sure that the UID is equal to the UID of, not user, UID, the UID of the items for sale matches the UID getting passed in. And what is this UID? Well, if you look here in the event, we are specifying ID, not UID, but the name ID is already taken in Moralis. So this will be renamed automatically to UID. So it's good to know this if you're wondering where did we get this UID from. This is the reason. It's already being taken. So we're comparing instead the UID. And if you look here in the items for sale, you have this UID. This is the ID from the event. Okay, good. So we check, because this is unique for the marketplace. So there's only one of each. And if you go to the contract again, so this ID points to the same item as this ID. So we can compare the two, and we can get the correct item for sale that is being sold. And that's what we're linking now. So we do this, and we get the first one, and we can call it item instead. And we can now set, so we can take this, put it up here. So we can instead set the item to this item. So we link the item being sold to the item that previously was for sale, like that is listed in the items for sale table. And we can also mark this row now, since it's now sold. We can now set a new column if it doesn't already exist. So we can do item.set, and we can now choose, for example, is sold, and we can say that now this is true. So now there will be a column saying is sold true. Good. And now we can save this. So await item.save. So now the item is saved. And we still want to link the user. Who is the user who bought the item? So we don't need this line. And instead of comparing the owner, we want to do the request. Why can't I spell today? Let's just request, spell like this. We can also copy the whole of this just to be lazy. A request object get the buyer. And this is also one of the things that we emit from this event, the buyer. So now we access that, compare that to the accounts. Let's see here. Yeah, accounts of the user. So get the first user whose accounts contains the account that just bought this item, and then we get the user again with the user query, and we should use this. This is a spelling mistake from above, so we should use the user query first. Easy mistake when you copy paste. And then we want to set this again, the request object set user to the user object if we got a user back. So this is it for it. So let's save this, and let me just pause a second, and then when this has finished loading, let's create a new item, and you'll see how it looks in the database. Okay, so it just finished loading, and let's go now to our client, and we can create a new item. This is already pre-filled for me, so if these are empty for you, just fill in something random, do an instant buy, and then press create. And then MetaMask will come up, and we confirm 3 times. Again, you can optimize this if you want to. And now this is created, so let's look at our table now. So now we have 2 rows. Oh, we have many rows, but you can ignore all of them except the 2 first ones, because now it resynced and I previously deleted because I was fiddling around a little bit. And if you now go to the side here, you should have this one is the last one that we created. And you see now it has a user and it has a token. So if we press the user here, you get to the user that is owning this item. And if you go back to the items for sale, and you press the token, then you get to the specific token that is being sold. And here we have the owner of. So in the next episode, we will use these linkings to be able to get these different things. The token URI, you'll get the symbol, you'll get the user avatar, you'll get the username. And with this information, we can then list on the Rarible platform. So looking very much forward to this, and hope to see you guys in the next episode. Bye.